This is the kind of story that makes Hollywood scripts look like bedtime stories. King Harris, T.I.'s bold, brash, headline magnet son, has done the unthinkable. After a brutal jail attack that had fans fearing the worst, the boy who once said he ain't built for normal life just pulled off the comeback of the century. Forget the Avengers. This is the King verse, and it just got resurrected. They said he wouldn't make it. They whispered, "It's over for King." But in true Harris fashion, he looked death in the face and said, "You can't cancel me yet." Doctors are calling it miraculous. Fans are calling it divine. And social media? They've gone full CSI Atlanta, connecting clues, decoding footage, and turning TikTok into a prayer circle. This isn't just survival, this is revenge energy wrapped in hospital lighting. Because when King Harris opened his eyes, it didn't just shock his family, it shook the entire industry. Grab your popcorn, because this isn't a feel-good story. It's a resurrection with attitude. The Prince of Atlanta has risen, and judging by the look in T.I.'s eyes, the streets are about to witness a whole new kind of storm. Let's rewind, because before the miracle, there was mayhem. Before King Harris became the face of unbelievable recovery, he was living the kind of reality that even Lifetime wouldn't dare script. The prince of hip-hop royalty, locked behind bars, caught in a storm so savage it made the Atlanta jail system look like a horror movie with no credits. Now, King Harris has always been the firecracker of the Harris dynasty. While his dad, T.I., was dropping classic bars and his mom, Tiny, was building the ultimate power mom persona, King was out here making headlines. Loud ones. The kind that scream, "This ain't your average celebrity kid." From wild live streams to viral confrontations, King became the internet's favorite chaos coordinator. But even his biggest critics didn't expect what came next. The story broke like a thunderclap. T.I.'s son King Harris involved in brutal jail altercation. No context, no warning, just a blurry clip of flashing lights, shouting inmates, and guards scrambling like extras in a prison riot movie. Social media went nuclear within seconds. TMZ lit the fuse, but Twitter detonated it. One user tweeted, "Not King Harris catching fades in jail like it's Fight Club, Atlanta edition." Another said, "This boy turned a misdemeanor into a Mortal Kombat tournament." But the tone shifted fast when rumors of his condition started swirling. Anonymous insiders claimed he was rushed to the hospital, unconscious, hooked to machines. It stopped being funny real quick. The Harris family, usually loud and proud, went silent. No statements, no interviews, just eerie quiet. Fans started piecing together clues from old videos, IG stories, and even astrology pages. Someone even claimed Mercury retrograde was the reason King got caught slipping. Meanwhile, paparazzi camped outside the hospital, like they were auditioning for Grey's Anatomy. Celebrity edition. Then came the first leak. A hospital insider allegedly whispered that King's condition was critical. The internet turned into a digital prayer circle. Hashtags flooded timelines. Pray for King Harris. Stay strong, King. Tarate speaks soon. And when T.I. finally appeared, walking into that hospital with his head down, it felt like watching the strongest man in hip-hop break in slow motion. No entourage, no cameras. Just a father walking into a nightmare he couldn't fix with money or fame. Inside sources say the doctors called it grim. The injuries from the attack were severe. Broken ribs, a concussion, and internal bleeding. Fans couldn't believe it. This wasn't a storyline. This was real life. And yet, the internet did what it always does, turned pain into speculation. Conspiracy channels started spinning theories. Some said it was a gang hit. Others claimed King had exposed something inside. One YouTuber with 1 million followers even suggested it was an inside job, saying, "Y'all think this was just a fight? Nah, someone wanted him silenced." And while chaos brewed online, something even more mysterious was happening behind hospital doors. Doctors were stunned. Nurses said his body was fighting harder than expected. One insider said, "He's stable, but it's like he's in between worlds." Dramatic? Sure, but this is King Harris we're talking about. Drama follows him like Wi-Fi follows influencers. Meanwhile, the Harris family tightened ranks. Tiny, ever the lioness, was seen entering the hospital in tears but refusing interviews. Zonique posted a cryptic message. God got the last word. And fans, well, they refused to stop watching. Every news alert, every pixel of footage, every whisper turned into fuel for the frenzy. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A mysterious audio clip leaked online. Allegedly recorded inside the hospital hallway, it captured someone, possibly T.I., saying, "He's fighting, he ain't gone." The clip spread like wildfire. Within hours, it hit 1 million views. People were analyzing background noise, trying to identify voices like it was the Zapruder film of hip-hop. Suddenly, the story shifted from despair to hope. Fans flooded comment sections. If anyone can make it, it's King. The Harris bloodline too strong for death. You can't kill a legend before the album drops. But behind all the optimism was tension, because not everyone believed this was a coincidence. Some insiders claimed King had been targeted. The jail scuffle, according to sources, wasn't random. Apparently, he'd been clashing with inmates for weeks. Arguments over fame, money, and respect. Some said King's mouth, known for being unfiltered, had made him a few enemies, and now, those same enemies might have tried to end his chapter before it even started. The word setup started trending. Blogs ran with it like gospel. YouTubers turned the story into 10-part exposés titled, "What They're Not Telling You About King Harris." The entire narrative became a perfect storm. Half truth, half rumor, and all drama. But while the internet debated, a miracle was quietly brewing in that hospital room. Doctors reportedly told T.I. there was a chance. A small one, but a chance. "He's fighting," they said. "If his vitals hold through the night, we might see progress." And that's when T.I. reportedly did something that melted even the coldest corners of the internet. He asked the nurses for privacy, walked into the room, sat beside his son, and said, "You're not done, King, you hear me? You're not done." It wasn't just a father's plea, it was a command. Hours passed. Machines beeped. The world held its breath, and then the unthinkable happened. King's hand moved. Slightly, but enough for everyone in the room to freeze. The monitors flickered, his breathing steadied, and just like that, the impossible began. The moment leaked faster than a Diddy rumor. First came a tweet from a nurse's cousin's friend. "He's awake." King opened his eyes. Then another post claiming, "Doctors say it's a miracle." By dawn, every entertainment site in America had the same headline: "King Harris Miracle Recovery. Wakes up after savage jail attack." The internet exploded. Instagram went into revival mode. Fans were crying, praying, screaming. One user wrote, "This man just resurrected like he had VIP access to heaven." Another posted, "Not even jail could hold the king down. ATL royalty stays undefeated." T.I., though, stayed quiet. He didn't post a selfie. He didn't make a statement. Just a single black and white photo of his son's hand, captioned, "Thank you, God," and with that, the legend of King Harris's miracle recovery was born. But as fans celebrated, others started asking, what really happened that night? Who wanted King gone? And why did this miracle feel like the start of a much bigger story? Because if you think King's comeback ends here, oh, you're not ready for what came next. The world barely had time to breathe before King Harris's recovery became the most talked about comeback since Tupac's hologram. You'd think a young man waking up from a brutal jail attack would be met with quiet relief. Nope, this was the internet. Compassion with a side of conspiracy. Within hours, the Harris Hospital wing turned into the unofficial epicenter of pop culture hysteria. The first post-recovery photo leaked before sunrise. A grainy shot of King lying in bed, eyes half open, machines beeping beside him. Fans lost it. Comments poured in by the thousands. "That's God's work right there? T.I. raised a warrior? The devil tried and failed." Someone even edited angel wings onto the picture with a caption that read, "From cell block to celestial." Meanwhile, news outlets fought like gladiators for exclusives. TMZ claimed they had official confirmation of his consciousness. The Shade Room posted a heart emoji countdown. Even CNN dipped its toe in, labeling it a developing story with significant public interest. But social media doesn't do peace. It does plots. And almost immediately, the narrative split into two camps: the miracle believers and the conspiracy crew. The believers were busy turning King into a walking testimony. Gospel remixes featuring his name hit TikTok. Preachers referenced him in sermons. A megachurch in Atlanta even hosted a Thank God for King prayer night, complete with candles, choir, and a sermon titled, "The Comeback is Always Greater Than the Setback." But the conspiracy crew? They smelled smoke, and they were determined to find fire. One viral thread claimed the hospital photo was staged. Another alleged that T.I. had connections in the system who helped stage the attack for sympathy. Some went even darker, suggesting King's miracle was the result of secret treatment, stem cell therapy, celebrity access, or, as one YouTuber dramatically put it, a deal between fame and fate. A deal between fame and fate. The theories were absurd, but they fed the algorithm like gasoline feeds fire. Every time T.I. posted something, even a prayer emoji, comment sections erupted with debates, speculation, and chaos. And in the midst of it all, celebrities started chiming in. Boozy Badazz went live, saying, "I told y'all that boy got spirit in him. You can't break real ones?" Rick Ross reposted a hospital picture with the caption, "Kings don't fall, they rest." Even Nicki Minaj jumped on X, formerly Twitter, to write, "That's a mother's prayer working overtime." But not everyone was convinced. Charlemagne the God, ever the provocateur, said on The Breakfast Club, "Something about this whole situation don't sit right. Miracles happen, yeah, but this one came with a publicist." And just like that, the narrative twisted again. While the internet turned detective, King was reportedly regaining his strength in record time. Doctors described it as unprecedented. Within days, he was conscious enough to talk, and allegedly asking about social media before he asked for water. Classic King. Nurses said his first words were, "They still talking about me, huh?" By then, his hospital room looked more like a set for a VH1 comeback special. Flowers from Cardi B, balloons from 50 Cent, fruit baskets from Usher. It was a celebrity roll call of respect. Tiny sat by his bed holding his hand, whispering prayers between laughter and tears. T.I., though, was different. Calm, quiet, reflective. Sources said he refused to leave the hospital until King could stand on his own. But outside those walls, the chaos only intensified. Blogs were pulling up every old clip of King's wild behavior. His fights, his Instagram rants, his infamous "I'm not like y'all regular kids" quote, and comparing it to his new, humble hospital demeanor. Suddenly, redemption montages were everywhere. YouTubers were narrating from rebellion to resurrection. This is the evolution of King Harris. The internet started romanticizing his pain like it was a Netflix documentary. One fan tweeted, "He's the perfect mix of T.I.'s hustle and Tiny's heart." Another said, "This is what happens when God says, 'Not yet.'" Even late-night hosts joined in. Jimmy Kimmel joked, "King Harris just proved something incredible. If you survive Atlanta jail, you're officially bulletproof." The audience roared, but behind the laughs, everyone knew. King's story had transcended tabloid status. It was now a cultural event. But let's not forget, where there's smoke, there's social media chaos. Some shady sources started leaking what they claimed were text messages between inmates, hinting that the attack was retaliation. Others said King was targeted because of his last name, because being T.I.'s son means carrying a crown and a curse. One gossip account posted, "They wanted the throne, but they forgot the king doesn't fall. He reigns." And then came the footage. Leaked surveillance from inside the jail appeared online, blurred, chaotic, but chilling. You could see multiple figures in a scuffle, guards rushing in, and a shadowy figure getting dragged out. Fans were convinced it was King. The video racked up 10 million views in 24 hours, and the internet went full forensic mode, slowing it down, analyzing body language, comparing tattoos. People weren't watching the news. They were the news. Meanwhile, King's Instagram suddenly reactivated. No post, no caption, just his profile picture switched to a glowing crown emoji. That one move broke the internet harder than a Kardashian divorce. The next day, his story popped up. A short clip of his hospital wristband with the caption, "Still breathing, still royal, boom." The internet erupted. Fans cried. The blogs crashed. The memes were merciless. Someone edited his hospital clip into a music video teaser with angelic choir music and the title "Rebirth of a King." T.I. finally released a statement. "My son's alive, blessed, and recovering. Appreciate all the prayers and love." But make no mistake, somebody gonna answer for what happened. That line, "somebody gonna answer," hit harder than any diss track. It sounded less like a statement and more like a promise. And now, the narrative shifted again. What began as tragedy and morphed into a miracle was now turning into vengeance. The Harris family, known for keeping their business tight, seemed ready to go full gladiator mode. Insiders whispered that T.I. had hired private investigators. Others said he planned to file a lawsuit against the jail for negligence. Meanwhile, rumors floated that King himself was planning to speak publicly, and when he did, the internet would never be the same. Because this wasn't just a recovery anymore. This was a rebirth with smoke in its lungs and fire in its veins. And as King regained his strength, the industry started asking a dangerous question. If he came back from this, what could possibly stop him now? By the time King Harris took his first steps out of that hospital room, the world wasn't watching. It was obsessing. Every camera in Atlanta was pointed at that hospital entrance like a royal coronation was about to begin. And in a way, it was, because the Prince of Trap royalty wasn't just walking out alive, he was walking out legendary. Doctors called it unexplainable, fans called it divine. But the industry? They called it dangerous. Because when someone survives what should have ended them, it changes how people see them and how they see themselves. The first viral clip of King's exit looked like something out of a movie. Dressed in a hoodie, sunglasses, and that trademark Harris swagger, he flashed a smirk that said, "Y'all thought it was over?" Tiny wiped tears, T.I. walked beside him in silence, and the crowd outside erupted like a championship parade. Reporters shouted questions, fans screamed, "We love you, King!" And someone from the crowd yelled, "They can't break royalty!" Within hours, King Harris is back was trending worldwide. But that comeback wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. King had become a walking headline, a real-life plot twist that no PR team could have written better. The man who once joked about being misunderstood had just become the face of resilience. But behind the smiles and applause, the tension was boiling. Because every miracle comes with a price tag. Rumors started to swirl that T.I. was quietly preparing legal action, not just against the jail, but against individuals allegedly involved in the attack. Some said he'd hired a private team of ex-law enforcement and street-connected insiders to get to the truth. Others said he was keeping it old school, eye for an eye, Harris style. Either way, the message was clear. Somebody was going to pay. Meanwhile, King was back on social media, and this time, his tone was different. Gone was the playful chaos and wild humor. Now it was sharp, cryptic, and calculated. His first post after the hospital? A black screen with the caption, "They can't kill a purpose." Within minutes, it hit 1 million likes. Celebrities poured in with support. Meek Mill commented, "That's real energy." Lil Baby posted, "Only the strong make it back like that." Even 50 Cent couldn't resist, writing, "This that Harris DNA, unbreakable." But the internet, of course, couldn't help itself. Fan theories multiplied like they were breeding in comment sections. Some claimed King's survival was divine intervention. Others said he'd made a deal with destiny. One wild TikTok even claimed the attack was part of a bigger music industry ritual, complete with ominous sound effects and blurry screenshots of T.I. looking serious at the hospital. The wildest part? Every theory, no matter how ridiculous, just made King more famous. Within a week, streams of his unreleased tracks tripled. Old videos resurfaced with new meaning. Fans were rewatching his interviews like prophecy. "He been telling us he's chosen," one commenter said, as if King had predicted his own miracle in code. And while the media devoured every headline, King stayed quiet. He refused interviews, ignored drama, and focused on recovery until the day he dropped the video. It wasn't a song. It wasn't a vlog. It was a short cinematic clip posted on his YouTube channel titled simply, "I'm Still Here." The opening shot? King sitting in his hospital bed, staring straight at the camera. "They said I wasn't gonna make it?" He begins, his voice low but steady. "But I don't break. I bend, I learn, I rise." Cue dramatic music. Flashbacks of his childhood, his controversial moments, and that blurred jail footage flickered on screen. Then came the quote that shook everyone. "I was built for more than pain. I was built for purpose." Boom, the internet detonated. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Blogs declared it the most powerful comeback statement of the year. Even mainstream outlets like Complex and Rolling Stone called it a rebranding masterclass. But let's not pretend everyone was celebrating. Behind the applause, jealousy was brewing like Atlanta humidity. Some rappers and influencers started throwing subliminals online, hinting that King was milking the situation for fame. One rapper even dropped a diss track titled "Miracle Money." Petty? Absolutely. But in hip-hop, envy travels faster than Wi-Fi. T.I., ever the wordsmith, responded with class, but a hint of warning. He posted a photo of his son smiling, captioned, "Keep talking. God's still working." And with that, the haters went silent. Then came the interviews. Not with gossip blogs, but with national outlets. When King finally spoke publicly, his tone wasn't arrogant. It was evolved. He talked about perspective, family, and how waking up was more than breathing. It was realizing who's really for you. That line went viral instantly. It hit deep because it wasn't just a soundbite, it was a survival quote. Suddenly, King wasn't just a rapper's son anymore. He was the story. The miracle kid who took a near-death experience and turned it into motivation. Podcasts analyzed his emotional maturity. Mental health advocates started calling his story a transformational. Even skeptics had to admit the boy who once seemed reckless had become a man with purpose. And just when everyone thought the saga had ended, T.I. made one last move that stunned the industry. He announced a foundation, the King Harris Project, aimed at helping at-risk youth transition from incarceration back into education and opportunity. The tagline? Turn the pain into power. It wasn't just poetic, it was full circle. Suddenly, King's tragedy had become a movement. Schools wanted him to speak. Influencers wanted to collaborate. Even streaming platforms were reportedly circling, offering him a docuseries deal. But the real twist came at the end of his first public appearance. Standing on stage, surrounded by cameras and applause, King looked straight into the lens and said, "They thought that was the end of my story." But it was only the prologue. Drop the mic, social media lost its collective mind. Edits, fan montages, gospel remixes, it was everywhere. The kid who once got clowned for being the loud one had become the voice of survival, redemption, and legacy. And somewhere in that transformation, the world learned something about King Harris. You can beat him, doubt him, drag him, but you'll never silence him. Because some people are built to live. Others, they're built to return, and this return, it just rewrote reality TV, hip-hop history, and every meme that ever tried to mock him. King Harris didn't just wake up, he rose up. And now, the question isn't whether he'll make it. It's who's brave enough to stand in his way next. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how King Harris rewrote the definition of survival. From a savage jail attack to a straight-up resurrection, this man turned pain into a plot twist and tragedy into trending. Forget fairy tales. This is Atlanta mythology now. If this was a movie, it'd be called The Comeback King, based on true chaos. But now I've got to ask you, what do you think really happened? Was King's recovery divine intervention, or a story so wild even Netflix would call it too unbelievable? Drop your theories in the comments, because the streets, the blogs, and the algorithms are listening. And while you're down there cooking up conspiracies, go ahead and smash that like button like you're avenging T.I. himself, because this story just turned the internet upside down. Subscribe if you haven't already, because on Celebs, we don't do peace. We do plot twists, leaked audios, and the kind of scandals that make your notifications sweat. Oh, and don't forget to hit that bell like you're waking King up all over again. Because the next story? Whew, it's even messier. Let's just say another celebrity's private video might not be so private anymore. This is Celebs, where fame meets foolishness, miracles meet mayhem, and the truth always shows up fashionably late. Stay tuned, stay loud, and remember, in this world, survival isn't luck. It's branding.